Kuzuzampo, welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Sonampem. Our top stories this week. 4 soldiers posthumously awarded Rugby Kholo Medal for their extraordinary courage and their supreme sacrifice in Delhi. Unresolved irregularities increased by 134% last year. And Bhutan Premier League to begin next month. 4 soldiers of the Royal Bhutan Army lost their lives during a brave rescue operation to save the lives of people caught in the flash floods in Gellifu on Monday. His Majesty the King travelled to Gellifu the very next day, accompanied by the Prime Minister and Chief Operations Officer of the RBA as the rescue operations were being completed.
A team of 5 soldiers braved the waters of the Mauchu to rescue 5 people at the Mauchu water treatment plant last evening at around 8:30. The people were in imminent danger of being washed away by flash floods as the river swelled due to 2 days of incessant rain. They rescued 5 of the people who were stranded, but 4 soldiers, Peljab Ugen, Gopape Mawangdi, Chuma Dupseri, and Chuma Tandin Doji lost their own lives in the process. Chuma Kinzang Doji is the only member of the team who survived. The deceased soldiers have been posthumously awarded the Drukpe Kholo Medal for their extraordinary courage and their supreme sacrifice in the line of duty. His Majesty commanded that the families would continue to receive salaries, allowances, and all benefits that the soldiers would have received during their service and in their retirement. The rescue operations were conducted at 4 points along the river. Soldiers, helped by Disups, Zongkok officials, excavator operators and others, saved the lives of 21 other people, including 4 forest officers on patrol duty at border entry points at 2:30 a.m., 16 workers including 2 women and a child at the Mauchu worksite and the crushing unit at 9:45 a.m., and the caretaker of the water treatment plant at 11:20 a.m. today. All the people caught in the flood have been rescued. The flash flood has affected over a 5-kilometer area around its banks. His Majesty the King commanded the Zongda, RBA officers and personnel, Disups and others who were involved in the rescue operation, in particular the excavator operators who took on great risk to reach the stranded people, and thanked them for their heroic services. Dandin Finso, PBS News.
The 3-week quarantine practice and effective surveillance system are what has helped Bhutan avoid a community transmission of the novel coronavirus so far. At the same time, it has prepared the country to handle the worst should it see increasing positive cases. The Prime Minister Dr. Lotus Ring shared this while meeting with the ministers and executives. The Prime Minister said, from the health management perspective, Bhutan's fight against the pandemic is well on track.
Quarantine the 3 weeks labi. 3 weeks ki nalu. Now that we are getting more Bhutanese from affected countries, we are doing 3 tests la. Entry nara first day nara ngachi sample nendo oshundibin la. Ani positive the first day nara ngachi isolate besu beese. In between antibody test chibedola. Exit nalu to conformity PCR hachi bedo oshundibin. So almost leaving no stones unturned la. Tani bendigira to ngachi quarantine nale thousands be quarantine zosorura midina mathumidi ngachi quarantine da checking system di almost efficient unity gi institution di.
While the country sees an increasing number of positive cases, all of them are imported and detected in quarantine facilities.
Quarantine nale ngachi gi mapa labjagi di ngachi dinta sum selabi majigi di 24 days yuila, if you all have not realized. Because day 1 we consider that as day 0. Then 21st day na ngachi sample lemi, 22nd day na result to me, 23rd day na lo ngachi tami ise shunibila. Tani with the 23 days plus day 0 de the 24 days yuila record na lo. Ani binding ani cover beda ge ese. Tanalo every day almost 40 lakhs plus jodola.
Highlighting the concerns of His Majesty the King, the Prime Minister said, while Bhutan takes the highest level of preventive measures, the health emergency leading to economic crisis, which in turn could prompt social crisis should the situation worsen, is worrying. Sunampem for BBS News. Coronavirus has brought large parts of the economy to a standstill and the government has had to spend millions to support workers, businesses and the health ministry. About 191 million yutam has been spent on COVID-19 related activities until June. The activities also include expenditures on quarantine services. During a recent meeting with the ministers and executives, the Prime Minister said around 4 million yutam is spent on quarantine every day.
Among 20 districts, Thimphu has spent the highest amount at 73 million yutam, followed by Borough with about nearly 50 million yutam on COVID-19 related activities since March. As per the latest figures from the Health Ministry, there are over 190 quarantine facilities in the country, and about 9,000 people have been quarantined.
Every day, almost 40 lakhs plus jodola. The Irura, being a lochira tsunami me, Suru, Miru, Tiruta se, Su Tirujam se, the Missiki Semka Sagi Dungi Bom Pop de Deva, Lulu Nasakusha watching the Tiuli Lomition se. Tamangachara Menkana Neb Mashum, Tutulu Pumashoma Asovachin Kadebi Beni se.
The maximum number of people who were quarantined were students with over 3,500, followed by some 1,200 overseas employees. And more than half of the people who underwent quarantine came from India. The second most number of people came from Kuwait. Until today, people came from 44 different countries amid the pandemic. Meantime, some 100 defaulters were being reported. According to the Health Ministry, some of them crossed the border illegally for import of products, including tobacco products, while some entered from an illegal route. It also includes breaching of quarantine rules. With the pandemic showing no signs of slowing down, the government might be forced to take a drastic step.
The Tuju Pejogin regime Jomatuachin Sapili Tilani Kokobra Mila. The Jinjongi Mangulding and Nanki Omab Langos and the Satim Chemogira Pamete is should be. The Nanki Omab di Mama Mamba Popjo, Jinjongi Mangul di Ma Pomatsubachin, the Sapili Milana. Malami Galen, Yan, the Laluchi Yona, the Tuntangonio, Yan Nachrigi, the Darim New Folera Togonio. 56% of recurrent budget is for pay and allowances. Tani being a netang to re hinkira choni de se, the Taresagame se.
This calls for people to seriously follow health advice and prevent the spread of the virus. Sringzam, PBS News.
With many cases of flu during winter, the Health Ministry will be vaccinating all Bhutanese with the seasonal influenza vaccine towards the end of this year. Some 450,000 people will be vaccinated, excluding the high-risk groups. It is estimated to cost over 113 million yutam. 5 high-risk groups have been receiving the vaccination since last year.
Each person will be getting a dose, and each dose costs about 225 yutam. The general populace will be getting the vaccine only this year.
Since these vaccines are seasonal, timeliness is very important. We have to deliver the vaccine on time, on the season. So that's why we have already communicated our concurrence to UNICEF on 16th July this month, July 2020, that we need this much vaccines for the procurement, for the reservation, for the Bhutan. So that's why now we are expecting that vaccine will be delivered at least by November. And then as soon as the vaccines are in the country, we have a robust system of distribution network in the country.
Since the end of last year, 5 high-risk groups were vaccinated. They are pregnant women, health workers, children aged between 6 months and 23 months, persons with chronic medical conditions, and elderly population above 65 years.
Similarly, for this year 2020 used, we have already deposited our budget for the procurement of this routine vaccine for high-risk groups in April. And we are expecting these vaccines to be delivered by October this year, which will be used for routine high-risk group population. Last year, an estimated of around 90,000 people had been estimated for under these 5 high-risk groups, and among that around 81,000 population of this 5 high-risk group have been vaccinated.
The vaccine is expected to help in preventing flu and reduce the pressure on testing for COVID-19, as both have similar symptoms.
There will be a secondary public health crisis if there is an influenza outbreak. The health system in the country, both in terms of human resources as well as financial resources, have been badly strained because of the COVID-19. And if we have to battle again with influenza, that will be very unfortunate and very difficult for the country and particularly for Ministry of Health to manage.
The vaccination will be available from all the health centers. Bhutan has high national immunization coverage, which is above 90% for about a decade now. Sringzam, BBS News.
After 10 days of halt, Food Corporation of Bhutan resumes the export of vegetables to India. The export was stopped after a group with a vested interest in Jagung in India restricted the movement of vehicles carrying vegetables from Bhutan.
As business opens, officials make sure it does not open doors to the virus. Safety comes first. Wearing a mask is mandatory. About 30 vehicles from India come to pick up the vegetables every day.
Since July 16th, the restrictions on the movement of vehicles were lifted after the Indian traders and those parties who organized the restrictions came to a consensus. Now, we are exporting almost 50 metric tons of vegetables daily.
The delay in the export this year due to the pandemic was bad enough. Restricting the movement of vehicles since July 6th just rubbed salt into the wound. 11 million Newton worth of vegetables has been exported this year so far. In the same period last year, it was 43 million Newton.
Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the Indian towns of Siliguri and Falakata are under lockdown. We are not able to export vegetables to these places. We are now exporting to Bihar and nearby Indian towns of Kalchini and Hasimara.
Currently, cabbage, beetroot, carrot and potatoes are being exported.
After the export of vegetables resumed from the FCB auction yard here in Phintsiling, the auction yard at Thamchu, which was suspended, has also resumed. FCB, in coordination with the agriculture extension officers in Geoks, has made a schedule for farmers to bring in the vegetables for auction. For instance, if farmers bring in cabbage and carrot today, they will bring cabbage and beetroot tomorrow. This is mainly done to coordinate the market, to give equal opportunity to every farmer and also to avoid vegetables from rotting. This is Sonam Penjo for BBS News, Phintsiling.
As compared to 2018, the unresolved irregularities increased by 134% last year. This translates to 1.4 billion Newton and is the highest reported during the last 5 years, according to the Annual Audit Report 2019. The report is a consolidated summary of significant unresolved audit findings compiled from 564 audit reports issued during the year. The increase in the irregularities is attributed to issues related to construction of Gelpushing Nganglam Road project, overdue loans and advances, and embezzlement of funds reported for Samrup Choling Dungkhak administration in Samrup Jungkar. As per the report, the Gelpushing Nganglam Road project has unresolved irregularities worth more than 169 million Newton under non-compliance to laws and rules, more than 60 million Newton as shortfalls, lapses and deficiencies, and 0.652 million Newton for mismanagement. Similarly, the accounts assistant of Samrup Choling Dungkhak administration embezzled 7.59 million Newton. Among the budgetary agencies, the Works and Human Settlement Ministry reported the highest amount of irregularities, followed by Samrup Jungkar Dzongkhak administration and the Home and Cultural Affairs Ministry. Within the non-budgetary agencies, the Bhutan National Bank has the highest amount of irregularities, followed by NPPF and Bhutan Postal Corporation Limited. Of the 5 broad audit categories, the highest amount of irregularities was reported under the category of shortfalls, lapses and deficiencies, followed by non-compliance to laws and rules, mismanagement and embezzlement. The least was reported under the category of fraud and corruption. Autonomous agencies reported the highest irregularities under fraud and corruption and mismanagement categories. Similarly, the ministries had the highest irregularities in the categories of embezzlement and non-compliance to laws and rules. And the financial institutions accounted for the highest irregularities under shortfalls, lapses and deficiencies category. Meanwhile, the Audit Authority made audit recoveries of 181 million Newton last year, an increase by 80% compared to 2018. Sunampem for BBS News. Police are investigating an alleged forgery case regarding recruitment of 15 support staff at the Bhutan National Bank in Thimphu. The staff had allegedly forged documents to get the job. The case came to the limelight during a routine compliance audit last year. The annual audit report 2019 reported that Bhutan National Bank's irregularities amounted to over 230 million Newton. This significant irregularity is highest among the banking institutions in the country. Of this amount, over 153,000 Newton was given as retirement benefits to staff who joined after forging documents.
In 2017 and 2018, Bhutan National Bank recruited 15 support staff. They were supposed to be Class 8 graduates. However, the problem surfaced when the Royal Audit Authority found that the bank had recruited 10 staff that had forged mark sheets and inflated their score or percentage to fulfill the criteria. Some support staff who are Class 12 graduates accepted that they forged the documents and were overqualified. However, they said they were not influenced by anyone in the bank. Of the 15 staff, 4 resigned in 2018 during the probation period. 6 worked for 1.5 years and compulsorily retired with benefits, but 5 are still with the bank. Of them, 3 have forged documents, but no actions were taken at the time of audit in August 2019. Non-termination of such employees, despite being aware of the deceptive practices, was in contravention to the bank's Human Resource Policy Manual 2016. The bank, in its response to the audit, said they had considered this option on humanitarian grounds as they constituted the staff at the lowest level. The bank also said they will no longer recruit Class 8 pass candidates. The bank had paid retirement benefits amounting to over 153,000 Newton to 6 staff in contravention to the Human Resource Policy Manual 2016. The audit also found that the bank, instead of terminating services, had asked the employees to put up the resignation. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
As per the National Corruption Barometer Report 2020, the government's effectiveness in handling and fighting corruption is on the decline. The ratings on the government curbing corruption, promoting good governance, and upholding the respect for rule of law dropped considerably when compared to the Corruption Barometer Report 2016.
The respondents who rated the government well on fighting corruption plunged from 85% to 62% in 2020, which is the maximum drop as compared to the ratings for other 2 indicators of the government's effectiveness in handling and fighting corruption. The rating for upholding respect for the rule of law dropped from 82% to 69.6%, and for the government promoting good governance, it went down from 80% to 69.4%. A higher proportion of the respondents residing in the western and central districts rated the government not doing well in terms of fighting corruption as compared to the respondents from the eastern Dzongkhas. Over 1,100 individuals from all sections of the Bhutanese society were surveyed for the report. Likewise, the National Corruption Barometer Report 2020 recorded a consistent decline in the percentage of the respondents who say the registered political parties are effective in preventing corruption. Those who rated political parties as ineffective cited various reasons ranging from political parties being the perpetrators of corruption to bribing electorates during election campaigns to being indifferent to corruption after coming to power. In view of the substantial incidences of bribery during elections and respondents reporting that voting for clean candidates and political parties is an ineffective measure to fight corruption, the report recommended the Election Commission to enhance measures to curb corruption during elections. The Bhutan Transparency Initiative prepares the National Corruption Barometer report. It is one of the key initiatives to determine the level and trend of corruption and the effectiveness of anti-corruption programs in the country. This is Pasang Doji for BBS News.
Farmers are seeing a decline in their bee populations in recent years in Sirang. Beekeeping, once a successful business in Patsaling Gyeok, is now dwindling. Beekeepers say too much rain due to climate change is affecting their scheduled honey harvest. Farmers from 3 chiwoks in Patsaling Gyeok are into beekeeping business.
For some people, being close to swarms of bees is uncomfortable. But not for Sringwandi Sherpa. He has been beekeeping for nearly 10 years, but he is seeing some worrying changes that have affected the bee population. Most of his 200 beehives are empty.
These beehive is empty this year due to continuous rainfall in the area. Earlier, bees came here 2 to 3 times a year. This year, except for 2 to 3 beehives, rest are all empty.
And when there are no bees, there is no honey. In the past, farmers used to harvest twice in a year. But today, it has become difficult to harvest even once.
In the beginning, the climate was favorable for honey business and we generated a good income from beekeeping. But over the years, due to excessive rain, the honey business has been badly affected. When there is too much rain, bees cannot go out to collect nectar. Moreover, bees are not migrating here on time from warmer places.
The price of honey is good these days, but honey production has decreased. We are supposed to harvest last December, but we could not due to underproduction. We will likely experience similar problem this season too. I have over 50 beehives, but most of them are empty.
When there is heavy rainfall, bees cannot go out to collect nectars. As a result, honey production declines. I used to earn a good income from beekeeping, but over the years, the business has gone down. For me, it has been a year now without any income from beekeeping.
32-member Patsaling beekeeping group produced only 74 kilograms of honey last year. It is less than half the amount harvested a few years ago. The situation has now officials worried.
We do not have solutions to the problem. However, during training, we are urging our beekeepers to initiate the planting of fruit trees and other flowering plants near the beehives, so that bees do not have to travel far to collect nectar.
He said sugar feeding is another solution but is not advisable. Any significant loss in the bee population can have serious consequences for humans. Without pollinators, crops would simply not grow. If the bee goes, our food supply will be under serious threat. Bee populations are declining even in the US and Europe. Experts blame climate change and pesticides. The main problem affecting the world bee population, that being climate change, is far harder subject to tackle. For Pematong in Tirang, Sringzam, BBS News.
With the government's green signal for organizing sports tournaments amid the COVID-19 situation, the Bhutan Football Federation is all set to kick off the country's top domestic league, Bhutan Premier League, from 1st August. The tournament was supposed to begin last month, featuring 8 teams from Thimphu, Punakha and Paro.
Due to the pandemic, the 8 participating teams for this edition will vie for the coveted championship title without a single foreign players in the squad. Tensung FC will make their debut in the Bhutan Premier League this year. They fought their way up and guaranteed themselves a spot in the top league after winning the Thimphu League and finishing 3rd in the Bhutan Super League last year. Tensung FC will use the Tencheling Military Training Center's ground in Wangdi-Phodrang as their home ground. Similarly, High Quality United FC, Paro United FC and Drukstars FC made their way back into the league after getting relegated from the competition last year. As per the fixtures the BFF released, in the opening game, the defending champion Paro FC will take on Drukstars FC in their home ground Wochu Sports Arena. Unlike the previous edition, the BFF will organize the league this year following the Health Ministry's and the World Health Organization's COVID-19 safety protocols. For instance, all the league matches will be played in closed-door stadiums. Fans and supporters will be able to watch the games online. Also, all players and officials will have to wear masks compulsorily during the match day, official training, and especially in the official areas and the substitution bench. At the same time, temperature readings of players, coaches, and technical staff will also be done before and after the match. The usual custom of pre-match handshakes is prohibited, and players are also briefed to try and avoid physical contacts during goal celebrations. This is Pasang Doji for BBS News.
That's all for this week. Thank you for joining us.